Well, the 2023 season winds to a conclusion for the Sooners here at the Alamo Bowl with an ugly 38-24 loss to the red-hot Wildcats of Arizona. To Arizona's credit, they closed the season with 7 straight wins. By the end of it, they were one of the hottest teams in all of college football. Nevertheless, the Sooners had opportunities to win tonight, simply didn't cash in. We're here to break it all down with you. Parker Thune, Brian Clinton, Jesse Crittenden, PB&J. How about that?
That's fantastic.
Jesse loved that.
That's fantastic.
You didn't tell me that was coming.
Glad we're all laughing about something, because there was not a whole lot to smile about with regard to the game that was played behind us here this evening in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. Guys, the story of the game was quite simple. Oklahoma committed 6 turnovers, lost the turnover battle to the tune of -5, and still had a chance in the fourth quarter to make something happen, potentially put themselves in position to win this game. Time and again, they just couldn't come up with a play.
Considering how badly they started, I mean, Arizona jumps out to a 10-0 lead. You know, OU had 2 turnovers in the first 3 possessions of the game. Despite that, it was really impressive the way OU responded on both sides of the ball. I mean, OU takes a 24-13 lead behind really good offense. I mean, Arizona's offense only gained 99 yards in the second and third quarters, only scored 3 points. But to me, in a weird way, it's almost fitting that OU lost like this. This is how they lost against Kansas. This is how they lost against Oklahoma State. Self-inflicted penalties and turnovers. OU, again, had 7 more penalties tonight. So, I mean, it's a disappointing loss. You don't want to take credit away from Arizona, but this has been the bugaboo with this team all year is self-inflicted mistakes that ultimately cost them the game.
Yeah, those 24 unanswered points from the Sooners in the second and third quarter was huge. But the bookends, the first and the fourth quarter, Arizona, they dominated those quarters. And so I think we saw some things from Jackson Arnold. That was the big story coming into the night. Jackson Arnold finally getting to start his era as the Oklahoma starting quarterback. We saw him struggle. We saw him have some freshman mistakes. There were bright spots, and I'm sure we have all season to talk about those. It was up and down, truly a roller coaster game, guys. I mean, it was all Arizona first and fourth, all Oklahoma second and third, and at the end of the day, you can't turn the ball over 6 times and expect to try and win a football game.
To Brian's point, the Sooners, the Wildcats scored the first 13 points tonight. The Sooners went on a 24-0 run, had the ball in the red zone, looking for an opportunity to go up 31-13. Jalil Farouk has the ball knocked out of his hands. Arizona safety Gunnar Maldonado goes 87 yards the other way with the fumble to pull Arizona within a field goal. And it's the Wildcats that put the final 25 points of the game on the board to come out victorious in this one. Now let's go back to Jackson Arnold. All in all, on a night like this, people are going to find issue with everything, naturally. But I think it's real easy to pinpoint what went wrong tonight and what cost the Sooners the victory. Is there a certain amount of blame to be shared all around? Yes, but Jackson Arnold understood in postgame when we talked to him. He said, hey, look, I'll take the blame for those mistakes. I'll wear it. Those are on me. And he did have some freshman moments. But to your point, Brian, some of the moments that he did have that would fall on the positive end of the spectrum, they were exactly the type of thing that has Oklahoma fans so excited about what they're going to get for the next 2 years in Jackson Arnold as their starting quarterback.
Look, I mean, 360 passing yards. Some really nice plays. I mean, that throw to Brennan Thompson to start the third quarter. Just the arm strength, the accuracy. Even on Jalil Farouk's first fumble, that throw was an incredible throw. You saw what has fans excited. You saw the arm strength. You saw the ability to escape the pocket, make plays with his legs. You saw the poise. You saw the ability to step up in the pocket, make plays down the field. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things. Look, this was always going to be a tough game for Jackson Arnold. I mean, Arizona's playing as well as anybody right now. Their defense is top 35 in total defense, top 35 in scoring defense. This was always going to be a tough time for Jackson Arnold to make his debut. There's bad moments, but you saw those things that have fans excited. You saw those things.
Yeah, and I think that one thing you can look back on, Oklahoma they gave up 3 sacks in this game. The protection was good for the most part, but there were times where it felt like Jackson was forced to have to step up into the pocket a little earlier than he wanted to, or get outside the pocket. But still, even in those moments, it felt like he was still poised, and it felt like he grew after that first scramble for a first down. It felt like he really settled into this game, and that was a promising thing just to see from the sideline, was that as bad as he had started, 2 interceptions to begin the game, it wasn't clean. He overcame those things and still made plays when his team needed him to. Now, there are obviously things that are going to need to be cleaned up, and as I told you post-game, Parker, 2 of those interceptions are easy things that he's going to be able to look at on film and say, okay, that linebacker dropping into the window, I need to be able to see that. He'll be coached up on that. They've got 9 months to figure it out. But at the end of the day, what Oklahoma saw in its new quarterback, I think that there was more positive to take away from it than negative. I think there's a difference maker at that position going forward, and as he gains experience, he'll only get better.
Well, and just to add, that Nick Anderson touchdown, I mean, that scramble, the play, the throw, the ability to escape the pocket, the grab by Nick Anderson, that's one of the best plays of the season for this team. Any excitement focuses on that play. That's the potential of Jackson Arnold in this offense.
A few knee-jerk reactions from this game. Despite his size, Noah Fafita's really good and is going to give some teams some problems in the Big 12 next year as Arizona makes that transition. He's got an NFL wide receiver in Tetaroa McMillan. Heck, he's got 2 NFL wide receivers because Jacob Cowing is not to be disregarded as well. So give credit to the Wildcats for what they were able to accomplish both offensively and defensively tonight. It's quite impressive to consider that Arizona had only forced 13 turnovers all season coming into this game, and they get 6 of them. Very opportunistic tonight. Ball security was an issue for Jalil Farouk. Again, Jackson Arnold telegraphs a couple of those throws. It's going to be a long offseason for Oklahoma fans that are looking back on this game and understandably have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth as to how things ended. But another positive takeaway, guys, without question, is the reality, and we kind of already knew this, but it was reinforced tonight. You got a running back that can be part and parcel of your offensive identity next year, because Gavin Sawchuk is all that.
5 straight games now with 100 yards to end the season. 5 straight games of averaging 5.9 yards per carry or more. You saw the explosiveness, that 62-yard run in the second quarter. It was an incredible run. I think his ability to make plays in space, his ability to make plays between the tackles. It feels like it was a million years ago, those running back issues that OU had to start the season, their inability to generate effective, consistent offense on the ground. But now you go into the offseason with a loaded running back room, but you also know Gavin Sawchuk is at the top of that list, and he's a guy that's going to get a lot of touches and be super involved in this offense, and that is something that's exciting, and he showed out again tonight.
Well, it'll be something that I have to go back to confirm, but it did seem that, even though we saw some struggles with him picking up blitzes in the pass protection, it seemed as if he was better tonight. 15 practices, obviously that helps. I think he's rounding into the complete back for Oklahoma, and he's young. I think people forget this is a guy that didn't break out until the bowl game last year, and so if he can be healthy, continue to get better through the offseason, I think Oklahoma's really good and really set at running back, especially when you got a guy like Taylor Tatum coming in. And who knows what Tolly Walker's going to do at this point. I mean, that could be a guy that figures in next year as well. So, big running back room, but the name to know is Gavin Sawchuk for sure.
Thoughts, guys, on the game that Seth Luttrell called in his first opportunity to dial up the plays for Oklahoma's offensive coordinator?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, he was not afraid to put to put his arm to use at all. I mean, Jackson Arnold threw early and often, and that was one of the questions I think coming in is historically Seth Luttrell's offenses have been pretty pass heavy. There's been a year or two there where they relied a little bit more on the running game, but today we saw he's not afraid to let Jackson Arnold air it out. And, a lot more passing plays compared to running plays. I thought it definitely took not only time for Jackson Arnold to settle in, but Seth Luttrell, too. It took him time to settle in those first couple of drives. It didn't look good. The second and third quarters looked really, really good. But I think you saw maybe a lack of rhythm in terms of when to run the ball, when to throw it, what kind of throws or what kind of passing plays to dial up. So I think just like with Jackson Arnold, I think there were ups and downs with Seth Luttrell. But look, the offense almost had 600 yards total offense today. It's hard. There's bad things too, but it's almost hard to. It's hard not to be excited about the potential of that too. The entire offseason for Jackson Arnold and Seth Luttrell to really get on the same page and lead this offense.
Yeah, with 6 turnovers, it's really hard to know what this game could have been if Oklahoma was able to take care of the ball a little bit better. I mean, you see Jalil Farouk give up the ball on the 13-yard line. That's potentially 7 points off the board there. I was really happy with the balance. I thought Oklahoma did a really good job, as you said, specifically in the second and third quarters of having good rhythm in both the passing and running game. And I think we saw flashes of what Jackson Arnold's going to be whenever he gets that internal clock down. I think we saw him struggle a little bit knowing when to tuck it and run, or whether or not he needed to extend plays. So I think as he gets more comfortable and gets more familiar with what Seth Luttrell wants him doing, I think things will only get better. But as far as a debut for him to be Oklahoma's play caller, I think it was more than satisfactory.
Now, might be a hot take. Defensively, I didn't think Oklahoma played half bad tonight. I thought there was a lot to be encouraged about, as a matter of fact, and ultimately, as I said, to kick things off, you got to tip your hat to Noah Fafita, to Teteroa McMillan, to Jacob Cowan, to everybody on that Arizona offensive unit that was part of a winning effort tonight and a really resilient effort for 60 minutes. But, guys, we saw some great flashes from Kendall Dolby. R. Mason Thomas got pressure on the quarterback. Rondell Bothroyd lived in the backfield for a little while there. The secondary was iffy at times, but I think in the front seven especially, you actually saw Oklahoma take a step forward from where they seemed to be last we saw them the day after Thanksgiving in a 69-45 shootout win over TCU.
Yeah, again, 99 total yards for Arizona in the second and third quarters combined. OU's defense settled in. 5 sacks on the night that ties a season high. And they came out at a 3.35, which is something they have not done a whole lot this year. I don't think anybody could have really expected that. I think that was part of maybe some of those struggles early on. But I think as much as we talk about the turnovers and how they maybe kept OU from really sealing the deal, OU's defense did a really good job in several of those possessions, especially in the first half, of even after giving up a big play, forcing Arizona to settle for 3, not letting them score touchdowns, keeping them in the game until the offense got going. But the problem ultimately ended up being giving up big plays. I think Arizona had 10 plays of 15 yards or more. Obviously, that 57-yard touchdown on 3rd and 9 in the fourth quarter to really seal the deal. So not a perfect game. We saw OU's defense give up some big plays down the stretch, but it's hard, again, not trying to make good things where there's not good things, but it's hard not to be encouraged by things you saw, the young guys that you saw make plays. A lot of these guys are coming back next season. There is a foundation to build there. There's kinks to work out, but a foundation too.
Yeah, I was encouraged by the defensive performance. I know that 38 points is what people are going to look at the box score, but Oklahoma defense played really well for 3 quarters. Given the fact that Arizona had 6 extra possessions to work with, that's a lot of plays. Those pile up. And this offense that they just played, Noah Fafita is a playmaker. That guy, he can do it all. And when you've got the talent that he had at wide receiver, those 2 guys went over 300 yards combined receiving. McMillan's incredible. What they were able to do over the middle in the intermediate to long passing game, it seemed as if it was open most of the night. But in the second and third quarters, we saw Oklahoma really clench down, bring more pressure, get to Fafita. I think I was really encouraged by that. Kip Lewis had a couple of plays too that he really flashed, and I like what I saw from Oklahoma's defense. The tackles for loss there, the sacks were there. Unfortunately, when you give Arizona that much opportunity, that many possessions, eventually the dam broke in the fourth quarter. But I really like where Oklahoma's at defensively, especially with what they've got coming back.
Still so much to be said about this game, but the great news is we've got 8 months to dissect it before the Sooners hit the field again, and they'll be wearing the SEC patch on their jerseys this time around. So subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hey, come ride with us at OUinsider.com, where we keep you up to date on everything going on in the Sooner football program and basketball program too. Heck, softball season's coming up. I guess this is where we turn the page. All things Oklahoma athletics, we've got you covered. Both what you see on your TV screen, day to day, week to week, whether that's football, basketball, baseball, softball, and what you don't see, what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on the recruiting trail for the Sooners, and especially Brent Venables and his football staff. OUinsider.com is the place to be. We hope to see you there. We're going to go get some sleep now. Good night from the Alamo Bowl, folks.